I never thought I'd be telling this story. Not here. Not now. Not after 5 years of forcing myself to move on. But then everything changed. I was falsely accused, disowned, and thrown away by the people who were supposed to love me the most. My parents, my sister, my best friend, my family, and all because of a lie. I'm Ethan, 32 now. But this all started when I was 27, back when I still believed that family meant something. That no matter what, they'd have my back. Turns out, I was dead wrong. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina, the kind of place where everyone knows your name, where neighbors still drop off casseroles when someone's sick, and where high school drama somehow follows you into adulthood. My cousin, Jake, and I were practically raised as brothers. We spent every summer together, pulled stupid pranks on each other, and once even got matching scars after a failed attempt at jumping off the roof into his dad's pool. Jake was engaged to Emily. She wasn't just his fiancée. She was part of our world from the start. Her family moved into the house 3 doors down when we were kids, and from that moment on, she was one of us. I helped her with homework, taught her how to drive in my beat-up Civic, and even punched a guy in high school for spreading rumors about her. She was like my little sister. So when Jake and Emily finally got together in college, everyone acted like it was fate. My mom cried when they got engaged. Our grandma actually did the whole dramatic clutching her chest thing. It was ridiculous. And then, on the day that was supposed to be the happiest of their lives, everything went to hell. It was June 15th, 2019. The wedding was at this outdoor venue just outside of town. String lights, soft music, nothing over the top, but beautiful in that simple, homey way. I was a groomsman, dressed in a navy suit that cost way too much. But hey, wedding pictures are forever, right? I remember standing near the entrance, helping an elderly couple find the bathrooms. They kept getting turned around, and I figured, what's the rush? The ceremony hadn't even started yet. And then chaos. I heard yelling, a commotion, people gasping. I barely had time to turn before something heavy slammed into me. Pain exploded in my ribs, and I hit the ground hard, my head smacking the pavement. Before I could react, a fist connected with my face. I didn't even see it coming. 1 second, I was upright. The next, I was on the ground, barely able to register what the hell was happening. Jake was on top of me. His face was twisted with rage, his hands gripping my suit as he threw punch after punch. "You bastard," he was screaming. "I trusted you." I didn't fight back. Not at first. I was too stunned, too dazed to process what was happening. Another punch. Blood filled my mouth. I heard voices, someone yelling his name, someone else screaming to call security. Hands grabbed at him, trying to pull him off. But Jake wasn't stopping. Not until someone finally ripped him away from me. I coughed, struggling to sit up, my face throbbing. My vision was blurry, my hands shaking as I wiped at the blood dripping from my nose. I barely had time to get my bearings before I saw Emily, standing there, watching. And the way she looked at me, like I was a stranger, like I was something disgusting. That's when I realized. This wasn't some drunken mistake. This was something else. "Stay the hell away from us," Jake spat, his chest heaving. "You're a fucking snake." I blinked at him, my breath still uneven. "What?" My voice cracked. I swallowed thickly, trying again. "What the hell is happening?" No one answered me. People whispered. Guests stared. My own family stood back, their faces hard, unreadable. And then, my phone buzzed. A text from my dad. "Wedding's canceled. Clear your stuff out of the garage by tonight." The words didn't make sense. I called him. Straight to voicemail. Called my mom. Nothing. Tried Olivia, my sister. She picked up on the second ring. "How could you?" she whispered. The line went dead. I sat there, in the dirt, my suit torn and bloody, my head still spinning. And I realized, I had just lost everything. By the time I got to my parents' house, my stuff was already in a duffel bag by the door. Mom didn't look at me when she opened it. I stepped inside, heart hammering. "Mom." She flinched. Actually flinched. Like I was a stranger. Or worse, like I was dangerous. "You need to go," she said quietly. I stared at her. "Mom, I don't even know what's happening." Her lips pressed together. And then, Dad's voice came from behind her. "We know about you and Emily." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh, which hurt like hell with a busted lip. "Are you joking?" I asked. "What the hell are you talking about?" Mom's arms crossed. "Don't lie to us, Ethan." I shook my head, gripping my hair. My head was still pounding from Jake's attack. "I'm not. I haven't. Where is this even coming from?" No answer. Just stiff expressions. Disappointment. Like I was already guilty. I swallowed hard, my throat burning. "You really believe this?" Dad's face was stone. "We trusted you." Mom looked away. Olivia didn't even come downstairs. And that's when it hit me. They had already made their decision. No proof. No questions. Just blind, unshakable belief in a lie. I could have screamed, could have begged them to listen, but I knew it wouldn't matter. So I picked up the duffel bag, and without another word, I walked out. That was the last time I saw them. Or at least that's what I thought. The first few weeks after that were a blur. I barely left my apartment. My phone kept buzzing with messages. Family, friends, people I hadn't spoken to in years who suddenly had an opinion about my life. I stopped checking after the first few. "You should be ashamed of yourself. I always knew there was something off about you. Jake deserves better." The worst one came from a number I didn't recognize. "We know what you did. Get out of town." I turned my phone off after that. The thing no one tells you about being exiled from your own life is how quiet it gets. No calls from my mom reminding me about Sunday dinner. No text from Olivia sending dumb memes. No group chats full of inside jokes. Just silence. I thought about fighting it. Thought about showing up at their houses, demanding answers. But the truth was, I already had my answer. They had chosen their side. And it wasn't me. So, a week later, I packed up what little I had left and left town. Alex was the only person who didn't turn his back on me. He'd been my best friend since middle school. One of the only people outside of my family who knew me better than I knew myself. When he found out what happened, he didn't even hesitate. "Come to Austin," he said. "I've got a couch. We'll figure it out." I didn't argue. The drive was long, brutal. Miles and miles of open road. My brain replaying everything on a loop. The wedding. The punches. The way Emily looked at me. I kept thinking, if I had just done one thing differently, would any of this have happened? By the time I pulled into Alex's driveway, I still didn't have an answer. Austin was loud. Bigger than my hometown. Full of life. Full of people who didn't know me. And for the first time in weeks, I could breathe. Alex's couch turned into Alex's guest room, which turned into my first real apartment 6 months later. I got a job. Corporate, stable, the kind that didn't require me to explain why I'd vanished from my old life. I started going to the gym again, found a coffee shop that didn't treat me like a pariah. Slowly, painfully, I started building something new. But some wounds don't heal just because you ignore them. I didn't date for over a year. Every time I thought about it, that same voice whispered in my head, "What if she turns on you too? What if she believes the worst about you? What if you wake up one day and it's happening all over again?" And then, one night, I met Hannah. She wasn't supposed to be anything more than a bartender. Just a random stranger at the dive bar Alex and I went to for trivia nights. But Hannah was different. Sharp, sarcastic, quick on her feet. She had this way of reading people, like she could see through all the bullshit in an instant. The first time I really noticed her, Alex had just made some stupid joke about me being the most emotionally unavailable person on the planet. Hannah, without even looking up from the drink she was pouring, just said, "Damn, who hurt you?" I froze. Alex burst out laughing. "Oh, you have no idea." And instead of pressing, instead of digging, she just slid me my drink and said, "Well, I make a killer whiskey sour. That helps with most things." That was the beginning. At first, it was just casual conversation at the bar. Then late-night diner runs after her shifts. Then movies at her place, sitting too close on the couch, pretending we weren't about to cross some invisible line. And then, one night, we did. I don't remember who kissed who first. Just that 1 second, we were talking. Something dumb about Die Hard being a Christmas movie. And the next, she was pulling me toward her, fingers curling into my hoodie. Afterward, she traced a finger over my ribs, over the faint scar where Jake had hit me hardest. She didn't ask about it, didn't push. She just waited. And for the first time since that night, I told someone everything. She listened, didn't interrupt, didn't try to offer empty comfort. Just let me get it out. When I finally stopped, she let out a slow breath and said, "So what you're telling me is that your entire family is dumber than a box of rocks?" I laughed. A real, actual laugh. And just like that, I knew. Hannah wasn't just some girl I was dating. She was it. A year later, we moved in together. Life was good. It wasn't perfect. There were still bad days, still moments where the past threatened to pull me under. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was home. And then, out of nowhere, Emily called. I almost didn't pick up. The number was unfamiliar, but something in my gut told me to answer. The second I did, I heard it. Her shaky breath, the hesitation. Then, "Ethan," she whispered. My grip tightened on the phone. I hadn't heard her voice in years. But somehow, in that one word, I already knew. Everything was about to change. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. I just sat there, gripping my phone like it might shatter in my hand. Emily. Emily. The last time I saw her, she was staring at me like I was something disgusting. Like she didn't even recognize me. And now, out of nowhere, she was calling me? I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay steady. Emily. She let out a shaky breath. Yeah, it's been a long time. No shit. I closed my eyes, inhaling slowly. What do you want? Silence. Then, finally, I know the truth now. My stomach dropped. I sat forward, pressing my fingers against my temple. What are you talking about? Another pause. Then, it was Jessica. Her voice was quiet, like she wasn't sure she even believed it herself. She made it all up. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You're kidding. I wish I was. Something heavy pressed against my chest, making it hard to breathe. Jessica. I hadn't thought about her in years, had barely even registered her presence at the wedding. She was just one of Emily's bridesmaids, a girl Jake had met at the gym, someone who barely mattered. And now, Emily was telling me that she was the reason my entire life had imploded? I clenched my jaw. Start from the beginning. Emily hesitated. When she spoke again, her voice was raw. Jessica had a thing for Jake, she said. For years, apparently. I didn't know. None of us did. But when Jake and I got engaged, she started saying things, dropping hints, making it seem like she knew something no one else did. I stayed silent, my grip tightening around the phone. She told Jake she'd seen us together, Emily continued, voice cracking, that we were sneaking around, that you were obsessed with me. I let out a slow, steady breath. And he just believed her? Emily made a sound, half laugh, half sob. I guess so. Rage burned through me, sharp and unrelenting. One girl. And Jake had destroyed me over her word alone. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to keep my voice even. How did you find out? Emily exhaled shakily. Jessica and Jake got married. Did you know that? I scoffed. Yeah. Figured it out when I started getting hate mail from mutuals. She made a small, pained noise. Right. Well, their marriage was a mess. She was jealous, controlling, always convinced he was cheating. And then, a few months ago, they got into a huge fight, and she just snapped. She said, Emily swallowed. She said, I didn't ruin Emily's relationship just to spend my marriage hearing about her. I went still, cold, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. Jessica admitted it. She actually admitted it. Emily's voice wavered. Jake started asking questions, pushing her, and she finally told him the truth. I gritted my teeth, my fingers curling into fists. So he knew for months and didn't say anything? Emily faltered. I don't know. I don't think he knew how to tell anyone. I laughed, short and humorless. Right. But he knew how to beat the shit out of me at his wedding. He knew how to ruin my entire fucking life. But owning up to his mistake? That's too hard. Emily didn't answer. And honestly, what could she say? I forced myself to breathe, to shove the anger down deep where it couldn't control me. So what now? She hesitated. They want to talk to you. I nearly dropped the phone. Excuse me? My parents. Your parents. Olivia. Even Jake. Emily's voice was careful, like she was afraid I might hang up. They want to fix things. I let out a sharp, bitter breath. 5 years. Ethan. 5 fucking years, Emily. My hands were shaking. 5 years of being treated like a goddamn criminal. 5 years of them ignoring me, cutting me out, pretending I didn't exist. I know. They let me rot. My voice was quieter now, more controlled, but no less sharp. They let me rot. And now that they finally know the truth, I'm supposed to just what? Accept their apology? Let them feel better? Emily was silent, because we both knew the answer. That's what this was about. It wasn't about me. It was about them. They didn't want to make things right. They wanted absolution, and they weren't going to get it from me. I exhaled slowly. You said you know the truth now? Emily made a quiet, affirmative sound. So tell me, if Jessica had never admitted it, if she never slipped up, would you still believe I did it? Silence. It stretched too long, too heavy. And then, finally, I don't know. A dull ache settled in my chest. There it was. The final nail in the coffin. Thanks for calling, Emily. My voice was calm. Empty. Ethan, wait. I hung up, and for the first time in years, I realized something. I didn't feel broken anymore. I didn't feel angry. I just felt done. Whatever connection I had to them, whatever part of me still held on to some desperate hope that they might really love me, that part was dead. Hannah found me sitting on the couch, staring at my phone. She didn't ask, didn't press. She just sat next to me, curling into my side, her fingers resting lightly against mine. After a moment, I laced my fingers through hers. They know the truth now, I said quietly. She tilted her head, watching me. And I exhaled. And it doesn't change a damn thing. A week later, Jake showed up at my door. It was late, past 8, but Hannah and I had just finished eating, the smell of takeout still lingering in the air. She was curled up on the couch, flipping through a book, and I was in the kitchen rinsing off our plates when there was a knock. Not a friendly knock. Not the kind where someone's just dropping by. No, this was hesitant, uneven, like the person on the other side wasn't sure they should be here at all. I frowned, wiping my hands on a towel as I walked over. Hannah glanced up from her book. Expecting someone? No. I checked the peephole, and every muscle in my body locked up. Jake. He looked rough. Hair unkempt, bags under his eyes, his shoulders hunched like he hadn't had a full night's sleep in weeks. I didn't move, didn't open the door, just stared at him through the peephole, my pulse hammering in my ears. Then Hannah's voice came from behind me, soft but firm. You don't have to let him in. I took a slow breath. My fingers twitched against the door frame. And then, before I could think too much about it, I unlocked the deadbolt and cracked the door open just enough. Jake swallowed hard. Hey. I didn't respond. His eyes flickered over my face, then dropped to the floor. His hands clenched at his sides, like he wasn't sure what to do with them. He cleared his throat. I just wanted to talk. I kept my voice flat. Then talk. He shifted on his feet. Can I come in? I almost laughed. No. His jaw tightened, but he nodded, like he expected that answer. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. What do you want, Jake? He let out a slow breath, dragging a hand through his hair. I know I screwed up. I tilted my head. Which part? The part where you beat the shit out of me at your wedding? The part where you helped ruin my entire life? Or the part where you ignored me for 5 years and only decided to show up once your wife finally admitted she was full of shit? He flinched. Good. For once, he could sit with that. I believed her, he said, voice hoarse. I didn't want to, but I did. I felt something sharp coil in my chest. You didn't want to? I repeated, my voice dangerously low. Jake, you didn't even hesitate. You heard a rumor, and your first reaction was to destroy me. His throat bobbed. You never even asked me, I cut in. Not once. You never pulled me aside, never tried to get my side of the story. You just took her word for it, and let my entire family do the same. Jake clenched his jaw, shaking his head. I was angry. I laughed, cold and humorless. No, you were stupid. Silence. His gaze dropped again, his fingers tightening at his sides. I came to apologize. You think I care? He exhaled, rubbing a hand down his face. I don't know. I had to say it. I had to try. I studied him for a long moment, and for the first time, I really saw him. Not the cousin I grew up with. Not the kid who used to sneak out with me to buy gas station nachos at midnight. Just a man. A man who made his choice, and now had to live with it. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel anything at all. I nodded once, stiffly. Fine. You apologized. Now leave. Jake's face twisted, something desperate flashing in his eyes. That's it? What else do you want? I asked, my voice sharp. For me to tell you it's okay? That we can go back to the way things were? I let out a bitter breath. You took 5 years from me, Jake. 5 fucking years. And you think a half-assed apology fixes that? His shoulders sagged. I miss you, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I blinked, and for a split second, something inside me almost cracked. Because yeah, I missed him too. I missed my family. I missed belonging somewhere. But that version of my life, the one where I could trust the people who were supposed to love me, didn't exist anymore. And it never would again. I exhaled slowly. That's not my problem. Jake flinched, his face tightening like I'd slapped him. But it was the truth. I wasn't the one who walked away. They were. Jake swallowed hard, looking down at the ground. Mom wants to talk to you. Something in my chest twisted, just for a second. Then, just as quickly, it was gone. I shook my head. I don't care. She misses you, he said, his voice cracking. Dad does too. Olivia. I let out a sharp, bitter breath. If they missed me so much, they would have asked questions. They would have given me the benefit of the doubt. They would have been my family. Jake's face was pale. He looked like he wanted to say more, but there was nothing left to say. I reached for the door, starting to close it. Goodbye, Jake. He jerked forward, panic flickering across his face. Wait. I shut the door in his face. And just like that, it was done. I didn't move. Just stood there, my fingers still curled around the doorknob, my breath slow and even. Then I felt Hannah's hand on my back. Gentle. Warm. You okay? She murmured. I swallowed, nodding. I was more than okay. I was free. I didn't look out the window to see if Jake was still there. I didn't listen for the sound of his car pulling away. I just stood in the quiet, staring at the door, letting the weight of it all settle into my bones. And then, finally, I let it go. Hannah didn't say anything. She didn't have to. She just leaned into my side, her warmth grounding me, her fingers curling lightly against my wrist. You want to get out of here, she murmured. Go for a drive or something? I exhaled, slow and steady. Nah, I think I just want to sit for a while. So we did. That night, I unblocked my mom's number. I didn't want to talk to her. But a part of me, some quiet, restless part one hadn't been able to shake, needed to hear what she had to say. It didn't take long for the messages to come through. Mom, Ethan, please. We need to talk. Mom, I'm so sorry. I miss you so much. Mom, your father does too. Olivia's kids ask about you all the time. I let the words sit there, unread, unanswered. Then, after a long pause, one final text came in. Mom, we heard about your engagement. Congratulations. I wish we could be there. I stared at that one the longest. Because yeah, Hannah and I were engaged. A week after Jake showed up, I bought a ring. I didn't plan some grand proposal, didn't set up candles or string lights or anything out of a movie. I just waited for the right moment. And weirdly, it happened in the most unremarkable way possible. We were sitting on the floor of our apartment, eating takeout straight from the containers, debating which Fast and Furious movie was the dumbest. Hannah was so sure it was Tokyo Drift, and I was trying to convince her that Fast 9 was way worse when I just knew. I got up, grabbed the ring from the sock drawer where I'd been hiding it for weeks, and walked back in. Hannah blinked up at me, mid-bite. What's up? I sat down, flipped open the box, and grinned. Want to marry me? She stared at me, then at the ring. Then she snorted. Are you serious? Completely. She shook her head, laughing. You are such an idiot. Yeah, I agreed, still grinning. But I'm your idiot. She stared at me for a second longer, then shoved the takeout container onto the table, launched herself at me, and kissed me so hard we both nearly fell over. When she pulled back, she was grinning. Yeah, she said, I'll marry you. And just like that, I had everything I needed. I looked back down at my mom's message. For a long moment, I thought about responding. But then, I didn't. Because here's the thing. Some people think forgiveness means letting people back in, letting them try again. But sometimes, forgiveness is just letting go. I forgave them, but I didn't need them in my life. So, I deleted the message. Hannah came out of the bedroom, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Everything good? I smiled. Yeah. And for the first time in years, I meant it.